asking about your employment history. Why is it a witch hunt to ask about your work history, your employment record? You were known to work for Peter Nygaard, and you know that he is in the media quite prominently. Did you not think that there would be any questions about that?
So Carol, are you questioning the over 10,000 employees that work for that Nygaard company?
No, I'm questioning you. Do you think it's a,
But
why is it a witch hunt?
Why are you not questioning the 10,000 employees that worked for Nygaard? The question that really should be asked here is, are you, or is the NDP or the Liberal Party making an assumption that anyone who has worked for somebody who is right now being considered in breaking the law and doing the terrible things, that anybody associated with that person or that organization is guilty? And if that's the fact, then I think there's some politicians on the NDP side that have a lot of explaining to do.
Well, with all due respect, you're the only one who's running for the legislature out of the 10,000 employees who work for Peter Nygaard. So
it was a job that I had for 4 months that I shared with you that I quit because it was distressing. He was disrespectful to me. He berated me in public, and I left. I didn't have another job to go to. I didn't have that luxury. But my health and the stress level that I was under, I just couldn't take it anymore.
The work that you did following Nygaard, that's what the NDP and the Liberals were raising in question period, questions about that, if that was not at all related or connected to any of the reverse aging investments that... Nope. So why not just release a full CV or work history?
My CV is online. It's on LinkedIn. If I did consulting work for an organization, which I did for a couple of weeks for that Parkinson's study that they wanted to do to address Parkinson's disease, to try and reverse the effects of Parkinson's disease, that was done by universities in the United States and this organization, I signed an NDA with them, and I will uphold that NDA. But I can tell you without question that Nygaard or any of his companies had anything to do with those people in any way, shape, or form. That question has been answered. The question was Nygaard involved? No, he was not.
You mentioned like you have things on your CV, but there's no mention of that of this company that you did Parkinson's research for.
It was a consulting job that I did for them. So why would I put it? It was a couple of week consulting job. You don't put that on your CV.
What is the work like? You say that, you know, about the allegation today that you are not, you know, that the NDP was incorrect. Do you continue to be on the board of directors? What is your involvement with both of those two?
So let me tell you what these two companies really are. The one is a medical research company, so their job, they don't generate revenue. Okay, so their job is they work with medical scientists from across the United States, working on therapeutic processes or cures for brain-related disease, ALS. Right now they're working on one with the Mayo Clinic on stroke. So they have developed processes and therapies through medical school and medical research that they are trying to bring to the forefront. And a lot of these organizations, similar to this one, what they do is they'll find what's called angel investors. People often that have the disease or the family has impacted the disease will pay for certain amounts of research to be done under the guidelines of a United States university. Not much similar to, the University of Manitoba did some stem cell work that I think one member of Parliament participated in. So they're not a profit-driven organization. They are a medical research-driven organization trying to find that cure that would then go into medical schools once approved, which could take up to 20 years or more through the processes of the United States. The other one was a...
Can you just name which one that was?
Sanaron C-cell technology, therapeutics.
Okay.
The other one is a small organization, again, that was a professor that had developed a vitamin that was blueberry concentrate. and she became very famous for that, blueberry. They don't produce any vitamins or sell them, but they developed the patent, and that patent is used by another company in the United States to produce a vitamin that sells. But it's called a Natura Therapeutics because they don't use chemicals, it's all natural products.
So what's your involvement with both of those two?
Oh, my involvement right now is I sit on their board as my way of being learning, really, because I don't know, the world fascinates me. I can also offer comments on their communication strategies. They don't do a lot of, because they are, again, medical focused, but if they do want to do some kind of communication to people, I'm usually the person they'll ask me to look over it for them. So I'm proud of that work, but by no means are these multi-billion-dollar companies or corporations. In fact, the revenues are, well, for the one, is nil. They do not have any revenues.
I think for both of those companies, you're listed on a website as a senior vice president.
I don't think so. I think on one of the companies I was listed as senior vice president. But if it is on there, it's incorrect, and I can talk to those companies about having them changed. I'm not involved in their day-to-day operations.
Were you ever the senior vice president for either of those two?
I acted as a consultant for them, and I think that they may have put that on there. But again, it's a website that I don't think has been updated in a long, long time, because that's not a world that they have to be involved in. But I will look into that, and if there is a mistake, I'll absolutely have them correct that.
You said yesterday that the only investments that you have are in RSPs.
That's true.
Like most Manitobans, you have declared as a city councillor in your conflict of interest declarations.
Yes.
That you have an ownership of less than 3%.
Yes.
In both of those two companies.
Right, and I should have clarified that with you. The work that I had done for them, they didn't pay me. They gave me a couple of stocks in their company, which were of no value to me. So I sold them back to the main shareholder, and I put them into RSPs in Canada.
Just want to make sure I'm getting that right. They gave you stocks
in lieu of some work that I did for them, communications work that we've talked about.
Right. Because
they didn't pay, they're not a funding, they're not a revenue company. I appreciated the gesture, and I said I'd rather just sell them back to you for under $50, and then I used that money to claim and then put into my RSPs in Canada.
When did you do that?
I think it was last year, I believe. I don't have the exact date in front of me, but if it's important, we can find it. But I no longer hold any shares in those companies.
What time commitment are these companies to you? You say they're not multi-million-dollar companies or whatnot, but what's the value in terms of like the time that you're giving to these companies?
The value in my time,
so value maybe not the right word, but
right.
How much time are you putting into it?
4 hours a year. In the one. The other one, I think we may have a 1-hour meeting once a year. They're required to have reporting, right? That's every company in Canada and the US has to have at least one meeting so that they can approve budgets or approve expenses and such, and that's what we do.
Were you involved in getting stem cell research law passed in the Bahamas?
Not at all. And I don't believe stem cell research is illegal in the Bahamas.
But you played no role in the lobbying that Peter Nygaard was a part of?
I would not. I did not.
And, sorry, just one more question. Why did you hold this press conference here today?
I held this press conference because you as a Free Press reporter, and Ian as the CBC reporter, take live clips of people making accusations in a protected environment. You fire me the text question that I get a chance to respond to, but you're using I get to answer to the question. People aren't getting a clear picture from you. I spent over 25 years in the media. Don't like me, don't like me. But the reality is the way you're running the stories are inappropriate, in my opinion. You're taking something that an NDP party member can make false claims about, or a Liberal member in a chamber, and the headlines you're using and such, I understand. You're trying to sell newspapers. I get that. I don't agree with it. That's why I'm not in the media anymore, I guess. But I have felt I had to come out today to put an end to this, because I'm not going to allow individuals that I don't even know continue to find new things and bring out new things to try and take me off the work that I want to do, which is represent the people of Kirkfield Park. And the only way to do that was to have a press conference. But even more so, I have to have it recorded myself so that I can show it to people so that they know what's being actually said and what's being asked, because sometimes the message is misunderstood when it makes it to the media. I'm not faulting anybody, sometimes it happens, and I don't think the clear message gets out. My message is very clear. This is only being done because they are protected and allowed to lie and make false accusations in the chamber. They have that privilege. They've earned that privilege by being elected. I will not play the American style of politics with them. As a victim of domestic abuse, as a victim where I lost my mom to domestic abuse, there's probably a lot that I could start calling out. I am not going to play American style of politics. I am going to focus on the people of Kirkfield Park, to represent them as their MLA and be a strong voice. If they want to talk about my policies and my track record as a politician, I'm all for it. But if they're going to continue to try to drag my name through the mud and continue to cause stress for my wife, my kids can read it, my grandkids have access to it because it's on social media, I will fight. And I will not allow that childish behavior to continue. Years now, since Brian Bowman tried to accuse me of my work, or try to paint me with a brush because I worked for NYGARD. I have been dealing with this for over 4 years, and I have been very patient with people and answering questions. Sometimes it becomes incredibly frustrating. And then you get new ones where people are just making things up or finding something online and saying, well, it says this, so he has to prove that that's not true, even though it didn't say my name. So the burden of proof is not on them, the burden of proof then becomes on me. And I don't mind answering the allegations. It was 4 months. I had no job to go to. Luckily, a few months after, Sun Media offered me a job, my old job back. How many people would have left a job that paid for their family, our mortgage, everything, just walked away with nothing? I did that. And I've said that on multiple occasions. I cannot continue to allow politicians that feel they're safe because they're under the veil of a chamber make false allegations and lies. I will fight back on that. And I will continue to fight back on that because it's unacceptable, it's unprofessional, and it's unbecoming of an elected official in this country. We are not the United States, and I'm proud of that fact. I am not here fighting for any one party. I'm sure the party will ask me about that. I'm here fighting for the people of Kirkfield Park, as I did for 4 years. And I also have to mention, it's really interesting that they have never brought out the fact that I went under, as a police board chair, the highest background check possible in the province of Manitoba. I venture to say that a few members of that NDP party would not pass that background check and be allowed to be on the Winnipeg Police Board. I was some kind of friend with Peter Nygaard. I worked for Peter Nygaard. I was a bad person. Didn't matter that it was for 4 months. Name me anybody else who will walk away from a very high-paying job. Didn't matter. That didn't come into play. My ethics were not applauded because I was able to say, I cannot work for this organization, and walk out without a job. And then it got twisted again by coming in and saying, oh, but there's this venture in this country that was involving research, and they're trying to call out, I believe they were trying to call out the St. Kitts Biomedical Foundation, which is a huge foundation that does work with Pfizer and Bayer. And there's a biomedical research company in that country as well that is associated with McGill, I believe. Don't quote me, but I know it's one of the Canadian universities because they do research. There's a veterinary school there that has a lot of graduates that come to Canada. There's medical work that goes on there. I cannot take a responsibility for something Nygaard might have said after I left or moved on in my life. I had no contact. He scared me. He was a bad person to me. And I am in no way trying to protect him. So I think when you asked me the questions about my work with Nygaard, I answered those. This isn't work with Nygaard. So this has come up new. So to say, well, why didn't you tell everything? Well, this is my private career. It wasn't questioned back then. So I have to come out because an MLA who's never had a job, as far as I know, in the private sector, never been responsible for anything, at an executive level, just can make up a lie because they know that they can't get in trouble because they're in the chamber. I have to go through all this. My family has to go through all this. I have to get a text from my daughter saying, did you see this on Twitter? Or did you see this on from the Free Press? Or did you see this? That's not fair. That's not fair to her. And the fact that people feel it's okay, it's not okay. So if there is one thing, I'll say it again, if there is one thing I want to do, and I'm sure maybe colleagues on the Conservative Party wouldn't like it, that privilege is gonna go. Politicians shouldn't have privilege to say and do what they want without being held accountable. I'm being held accountable by giving you the answers and by sitting here. A lot easier to say no comment.